We're seeing some stability, significant stability to these numbers, and that is the product of some tough rules and the fact that the vast majority of Victorians are following those rules, and I thank them, each and every one of them, for the part they're playing in protecting our health system and saving lives. Now, for those small number of Victorians who are doing the wrong thing, I can report that 540 spot checks were undertaken yesterday and some 67 fines were issued. Victoria Police are out there doing very important work. Please don't make their task any harder than it needs to be. The best thing to do to avoid a fine, to avoid our health system being overrun, to avoid thousands of people needlessly dying, please follow the rules. That is a simple but very important message. And I again say how proud and how grateful I am to the vast majority of Victorians who are doing the right thing. I'm asking a lot of you, I know and understand that, and I'm deeply grateful for the way in which you are working with the government to produce these numbers that are so much better than so many other parts of the world where literally thousands and thousands of people are dying each and every day. Now, there are 32 patients in hospital. 13 of those 32 patients are in intensive care. Now, can I just take you through some other announcements, and James and Gail have joined me and they're happy to take any questions you might have. The TAFE sector is critically important. We are proud to say that as a government we saved TAFE from a very different approach where there was simply not the support for TAFE training and skills that we think is important. We've then made TAFE free. We're working so hard to make it the best training system that it's ever been. But these are very difficult times for our TAFE sector. So today we can announce just under $261 million in funding. That will guarantee funding at the normal enrolment level, so assuming the same level of enrolments if we'd not had the pandemic, much like governments have stood behind childcare, stood behind the private hospital system. Whenever you're funded based on the activity you have, the number of enrolments you have, if those enrolments are down, then funding is down, obviously, and you're then left with no choice but to stand down staff and potentially be damaged for the long term. TAFE's always been important to me. We saved it. We've made it free. We want it to be better than it's ever been. And on the other side of this virus, TAFE, skills and training are going to be more important than they've ever been. That's why this $261 million grant, this injection of funds, is critically important to get TAFE and all the incredibly important training that they do to the other side of this global pandemic. There's also embedded within that just under $261 million, some funding, not just to support revenue and enrolment funding, but it's there to support a move to online, flexible, remote learning. Not every TAFE course can be done that way, but you'd be quite surprised. Some courses that you would think were not conducive to online learning, like plumbing, for instance, TAFEs have done great work in transitioning to make sure that their students can continue to learn, their students can continue to get every day a step closer to getting their ticket, a step closer to being able to play the part that we need them to play in the strongest economy in the nation, with the biggest infrastructure agenda, together with big reform agendas in family violence, in early childhood education, in mental health. All of those reform agendas require very substantial numbers of additional staff. So training, never been more important. Getting TAFE to the other side of this virus is just what we have to do, and that's what this $261 million will achieve. Just to give you one example, you'll remember when we announced our economic survival, our business survival package, the best part of $1.7 billion, about $500 million of that was set aside to create things like the Working for Victoria Fund. So if you've lost your job, there's plenty of work that we need done. So many people are coming and working for the government, working for all of us. I can report to you, just by way of example, some 685 Victorians have gone through a number of short courses at TAFE in hygiene, in cleaning practices, so that they can do that critically important work for every single Victorian. Those numbers will continue to grow. Of course, that training and so much more simply couldn't happen if we let TAFE fall over, as it were, as part of this pandemic. So TAFE, very important to us, very important to every Victorian, and that's why we're backing TAFE strongly to get to the other side of this pandemic with $261 million in additional funding. I think that's all from an announcement point of view. James and Gail are here. We're happy to take any questions that you might have. Well, look, it's very challenging to provide a detailed list of the things that we will invest that money in, but ultimately it will be there to save lives and to save jobs. And this is not like any other year. This is unprecedented. And the absolutely honest answer, Lundy, is that we can be certain about some things, but so much of this is variable. So much of this changes really fast. The damage that's been done to the economy, we can't really predict where we're going to finish up in terms of which sectors will be hardest hit, where the biggest burden will be, where the biggest burden and the biggest challenge. It's very difficult for us to assess that. So this is what other governments have done. It's exactly what's needed.